All right, I'm going to go ahead and start recording here. The Zoom wouldn't let me in today. It kept telling me I was on the wrong account because we did a webinar this morning. For those of you who attended, it was actually really good. You know, we kind of water things down sometimes by saying, "Oh, it's the best webinar ever. It's the best phone ever, whatever." No, this is a really good one. It was all about how to build a better website. We had a marketing guy, Paul Green, on, and he tore apart some MSP websites and put them back together and kind of commented on what was good, what was bad. And, you know, the webinar turned out much better than I thought. And if you want to check it out on YouTube, it's still rendering so the high def. So if you want the high def version, you're gonna have to wait. But otherwise, let me put it in the comments really quick. It'll be in the newsletter next week. But it was good. Skip, any thoughts?
Yeah, I thought it's really engaging. So my voice is really struggling, so I didn't talk much, fortunately.
You were active in chat. You were good.
I was, and so a lot was going on, but really taking some live real MSP websites and kind of tearing them apart. I thought Paul was very tactful about it, but he was very honest and jumped in there, and it was great information. So yeah, if you have any say so in your website, you should really check out that webinar. I think it'll be very enlightening.
Yeah, I even learned a few things. And that's kind of good thing about hosting those webinars is a lot of times I learned good things. Next month, we'll be doing one on how to get a seat at the executive table with your clients, how to earn that position where you get to be part of the decision-making process. Rather than just handing out proposals and waiting a couple of weeks for a response, you should be in the room with them and justifying and helping understand, like, what is this going to do for them, changing projects to fit their goals. And if you're interested in that next month, I've already got it on the events page. You can register right now, and we're gonna have a good time. I'm gonna try something next month. So instead of having a community meeting next month, we used to do this in 2021. I think the webinar will be during this hour. So if you've already got this hour blocked out, we'll do a full hour webinar instead during this hour instead of a community update, which means I'm gonna have to adjust our roadmap a little bit. But this way, you'll be able to attend the webinar and get those high value items without having to block out another hour in your week. And with that, what is this week? What are we covering, Skip? I was so excited about the webinar, I completely forgot to pull up my HIT roadmap here. We are in.
Well, I thought it was interesting in the NAN that we sent out. As happens sometimes, I'm kind of scrambling at the last minute. So I put my stuff in there, but I didn't actually read yours this week before.
That cuts me deep.
I read it, but I didn't read it before I put all mine together and then sent it out. And I thought it was really interesting that we both hit on consistency. Yeah. And I think that, so if you aren't reading the NAN, check that out every so often. There may be a nugget in there every so often.
Yeah.
And but focusing on that consistency with your clients, I think, is going to be one of the most valuable things you can do. Even if you have to take your strategic level of engagement down a notch so that you can consistently deliver on it, I will think you'll see more value than stepping up to the plate and trying to swing for the fence at every pitch.
That is also a great way to evolve your employees. So, you have this situation with engineers or new hires where you ask them to do a bunch of stuff and then they end up being a really crappy employee. And sometimes that is because you don't take a step back, start with the basics, and let them work their way up. Let them get comfortable with the baseline and add on one at a time, or let them pick what to add on next. So consistently delivering, you sometimes have to strip things back until you can consistently do something and then add that one thing on and consistently do that and keep going. So it looks like this week I have us down for gap analysis. I really love gap analysis, but people sometimes use it wrong. Gap analysis isn't, hey, you're missing these 3 patches from the last cycle. That is a gap. Yes, that's an operational gap. And that's for your engineers to know about and identify and deal with. When you're talking about your business gaps, you're talking about things like where they don't have a mobile device management software. They don't have a risk management, or they don't have cybersecurity insurance. And these things are causing problems because of the gap. That's why, my poster child for delivery is a school where they didn't know they were missing things that make things smooth. No one told them that they were way under provisioned on wireless access points. That was a massive business gap because they could not function the way they wanted to. Like going to a meeting couldn't be done with your laptops. You had to go to a meeting with paper. That is a gap. And so when you're doing your service stack, so since we're in the service quarter, we're almost done with the service quarter, by the way. You have to decide, what aren't you doing for your customers, and how can we get them to a better place? And that's what this is all about.
And let me jump in here and talk more about this gap. So it's one of the things that I feel our tool does really, really well. And it is very, very important that you talk about the gap. But just like you mentioned, a server missing a certain number of patches, that is a gap analysis. But both ends of the gap are technical. All right. So you have a patch level expectation, that's the high water mark. And then you have their actual patch level, and that's the current state. And so the difference between the two is the gap. When we talk about gap analysis, this is really where the technology meets business. All right here. This is the dividing line. And the current state is where their technology is. All right. You've gone through, you know what solutions they have. But the high water mark, where they want to go, is not a technical element. Okay. And now I know we look at it through a technical lens, but we always want to understand what is the business goal that closing this gap is going to meet. And when we get that context down, knowing that making sure all of our servers are patched is going to provide the liability protection that the client is working for. That may be an oversimplified approach, but understanding that that far right number that you're building them towards needs to have a business basis. If it doesn't, you're just managing speeds and feeds. All right. It's inventory, it's checklist sort of stuff. So that is the understanding of the gap. Mr. Customer, you have a deficiency. We want to take you here, and here is where they want to be. They want to be successful. They want to hit their goals. They want to open their new line of business, whatever it is. They really don't care about the technical goals. So quit talking to them about it.
Yeah. So that's why we break things out into the service pillar, is that we want to take all of those technology assets and we want to throw them off to the side. Okay, we've already audited them. We know what they're doing. We know what they look like. Now we need to figure out, where are we? Okay, what do you need from the client? Do they need training on how to do things better? It could be that they have the technology and they don't know how to use it. That's what this is for. And so as you go down through the service stack, it's going to try to identify gaps in their coverage and how their business functions. Do they have lifecycle management? I know that some of you told me that PC lifecycle management isn't as big of an issue these days, with having completely managed PCs and laptops. But it's still something that, like, a lot of companies that they need to know this is automatically taken care of. It could be that they just need to know that the PCs are going to swap out every 3 years. They know what the budget item is and they're ready to go. A gap that can be easily identified in a budget, which we're trying to build our budget tool in the software right now, is the sawtooth. If your budget is a sawtooth for your client, where they're spending like $30,000 now and then they don't spend anything in a couple of months or next year, that means that their budget is out of alignment, and you can do more lifecycle management stuff, and you can do more managed PCs to stabilize their budget and that helps them. And you kind of come down through this audit and you look at SLAs. Not everybody needs 24/7. Some people, they don't need proactive if they're a small shop. They just need you to be there when they call. So you can go down and find these gaps and you can add them in. And these are all focused on how are you helping the company survive? How are you supporting them in a way that helps them grow? This has nothing to do with do you have the latest and greatest firewall? Do you have the latest and greatest PCs? This is all about how are you serving them? So in a business, often what we'll do is we'll do a gap analysis. So, okay, so our clients in business, we're in a dog kennel and we see the little foofy comes in and she gets her VIP suite. She gets the cute little, the suite where they get their extra snack that day and they got the camera pointed at it, but there's no great check-in, check-out process. Okay, so we need to get a concierge desk together to do a check-in and check-out process. We have the kennel, we have the treats, we have everything that the little foofy needs when they're in the kennel, but transitioning in and out of the kennel is not done well. It's always us clamoring for things. That is a gap in service. And we want to cover that with okay, now we need a concierge sitting at the front desk doing intake and signing off on pets as they leave and making sure that that process is smooth. And so you hire somebody and then it's an extra cost. Now we have to up our costs a little bit on check-in, check-out. That's okay, because now you've covered the gap. Maybe there's a gap and you don't have a veterinarian on staff to service any medical needs for high needs pets. That is a service gap. And that's what we're trying to look at here. And you can make a customer experience completely changed by doing this service gap analysis. And a lot of you are really great at doing technical gap analysis. Hey, they're using Lenovo's and we want them to use, I don't know, Compaq. I'm going to go way back. And Compaq even make laptops anymore?
I think it's a consumer model brand or something out there. I don't know.
Anyways, you know, you're gonna align them with your technology. That's easy. That's why people do it. That's why all MSPs do this really well. It's easy. Anybody can do a gap analysis on technology. Give me a brand new piece of technology, I will write up a gap analysis on it in 20 minutes. It doesn't take long. Doing a service gap analysis requires you to understand your client's business model, what they're trying to do, and what services you have that will help them do what they do better. I'm going to say that one more time. Your service gap analysis requires you to understand your client's business and aligning what you're doing with what they're doing so they can do what they do better. So if you align with them and you're saying, hey, you know what? They just opened up another storefront or they just started doing after hours things. We need to make sure that we're adding on after hours technical support so that they can call us after 5 p.m. on a Friday. We also need to be able to align our support of different systems. You look down this whole list, there's a whole checklist of them, with extra needs based upon their risk requirements. Oh my gosh, they're trying to be NIST compliant. We need to up our game on patching. These are things that you're doing for them. You need to do better backups. You need to do offsite backups. These are services you're providing. And no, this is a gap analysis based upon long-term planning with your clients. And it's hard because you have to get to know your clients. You don't know how to serve them unless you get to know them. It's, again, I'm going to go back to my dating illustration, or your wives or your significant others. And you're going to say, can you buy them a good present? Can you serve them well if you don't know what they want? If you don't look at their schedule on a daily basis, say, hey, my wife's going to be out, this afternoon. She's helping with the 4th grade graduation. They're all going to eat out. I'm going to go ahead and take the other 2 kids out to eat at Honest Abe's, a great burger joint here in Lincoln. And now I have served better. It's not that I need to have dinner ready when they get home and do all this other stuff. It's that I just need to change what I'm doing today in order to align with the activities of my family in my relationship. If I don't pay attention to what's going on in the relationship, I don't know how to serve well. And it seems like such a duh thing, but so many MSPs mess up this part. That's why we're talking about it today. And we talk about it every year because you're so great at fixing PCs. You're not great at understanding why you're fixing the PC. And
Yes.
the fact that your client would be willing to pay $10,000 more a year if you would offer this one service that they really, really need.
All right. And Adam, now don't change the screen because there's a couple illustrations here that I think really zero this in. IT policy is a real pain for all of us, right? And you as an MSP probably can't write IT policies, at least to the extent that they may need to be for your clients, because they're going to be unique to their business and their environment. And so it has to be a very collaborative process, but it needs to be done. And if you have a mechanism to identify this gap and at least talk about it, to get it on a roadmap, to have that consistent conversation about it, you are going to be able to partner with your client, maybe partner with a third party, and really be a part of this solution to fix what they need. Now, another one here, great example in user training and application systems. So they've got a specialty application. Maybe it's an Autodesk product, or it's an accounting product. But at the end of the day, really no one on your team knows anything about it. I know I would learn like one thing, where to go to make one settings deal, or, where do I go to open a file? I remember doing that. I couldn't make any sense of anything, but I knew to do this one thing. And that was like my test to see if the application worked. All right. But your clients are having this frustration. They can't get things to work right. Again, let's identify these gaps. You are not going to be the one who closes all of these gaps, but you need to be involved in the process. And so maybe you help your client find a third-party application support. Maybe you help tie them in. Maybe you get some tools for them. Maybe you roll in some of the maintenance or support features that they need into their budget so that you are a part of the process. So don't take everything in services as something that you have to do, but just remember, you want to be a part of this so that you're the partner with your client. Yep. And they see that, they really see that. And so if we're in this on like application, right, and they still can't get all the applications to work, you have the resources in the mix now to solve this. And so you get to be part of their solution. You get to be, hey, we finally got this thing all up and running. And now, we bought this new software and this new machine, and it's just printing money all day long. Okay. You want to be part of that process. And you might have sold them the software, you might have sold them the machine, but if you aren't part of the process to get them to printing money, you aren't really going the full journey with your clients.
Yeah, and spoiler alert, this is largely what we're going to cover at the executive webinar next month. I'm planning on moving through how to do these alignments, because you're leaving so much money on the table by not talking about customer gaps. And it's one of those smoke and mirror things, because so many MSP, it's like strategic management. A lot of MSPs think they're doing strategy because they're planning out when PC life cycles end. That's not strategy, that's operational strategy. That's something that's convenient, it's good to think about, but it has nothing to do with business strategy.
That's right.
And so you can lull yourself into complacency by thinking that you're doing strategy because you're planning out asset life cycles. That's not executive strategy. That's why you're not at the table. The same thing with these service stack gaps. When you're looking at how you're aligning your company, and if you're looking at, you're covering gaps, but you're not talking about what is my customer doing and how can I make their job better by serving them better? You may have sold them on the platinum services you have, but if you're not aligning appropriately, you're leaving tens of thousands of dollars on the table that you are probably you're probably already sunk cost paying for, because it's a yes and during the month. Oh, while you're here, can you do this? While you're here, can you do this? An engineer, being a good engineer, they're going to do it. They're going to go to, oh yeah, while I'm here, I'll go ahead and patch that PC. Oh yeah, while I'm here. Oh, I know it's 5 o'clock and I should be going home, but I really want to make sure you're taken care of. You're already paying this level of service, especially if you're a really good MSP who cares about your clients. You're going to have an issue when it comes to burnout and your services that you're offering that no one's paying for. And so when you're doing a service alignment thing, and oh my gosh, these guys are always, needing extra support. We should just sell them a package that covers that. That way we can hire an engineer to dedicate to them and everybody's happy. Maybe they don't even need a full engineer. Maybe they just need a technician who can swap out mice and computer monitors for the school, because the school is a high risk school and they constantly break monitors because you have a lot of kids who have anger issues, or there's a lot of fights breaking out. And you can say, hey, you know what? We're always going to keep some monitors off to the side for these people. It'll be X dollars extra a month. And that way we can swap them out. And you have a technician that comes in and replaces them. You can just call it the high risk policy, or you can call it the accidental damage coverage, whatever. You make up, you guys are engineers, make up the idea. But when you're doing these service stack alignments, look at what your client is doing and are you covering them? Are you helping them grow? And if you're doing it right, you'll see your contracts scale really fast because you're solving problems for your client. And that's a core of the humanized IT process, or the framework, is that you're solving problems for your client that they didn't know there was a solution for. Now they're inviting you to the table saying, hey, what other services could you have that could possibly allow us to work from home a little bit smoother? Is there a way I could work from a beach next week? Because I'm going to be in Cancun and I'd really like to rub it into Skip that I'm on a beach all day. Shameless plug. I'm telling you, I'm going to try to join this meeting next week from the beach. Everybody stay tuned. But you have these solutions in your brain that they don't know about. And you don't have to be the business expert, as Skip always says. You don't have to be the business expert. You have to be the technical expert and be at the table. So with that, when they're talking about these problems they're having, you're like, oh, you just need to put in 3 more access points and that goes away. It's like $300 and this problem's done. What? I thought it was a problem with I thought wireless this is the way it was. No, we just need to do a site survey like once a year and making sure that our saturation levels are good with the clients coming in. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, what about, can we have an extra office off to the side? Like we want to do an office across town. How's that going to work out? They're not on site. They can't connect into our network, can they? Oh yeah, it's pretty easy. You just need to do blah, 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 blah. I can get a proposal for you and it'll cost you $1,500. Oh, and now you're solving problems, whether it's little floofy in the kennel and a better way to do multiple camera angles so that you can see all of her fluffiness, or something like a school that has a lot of PCs that break. Maybe you can propose the durable version of those PCs. Your client may not know that there are tough books out there, and they're very tough and they're great. And they could be using those instead and saving a bunch of money because now they're not replacing a laptop every month. So these are things that you can be at the table for, but you're not invited to the table because you're constantly talking about the wrong thing. You're talking about buying more PCs. You're talking about gaps in mouse coverage or keyboards or the better firewall they need to have. You're not talking about how to serve them better from a service standpoint. So think about your soft things. What services do you have? 8x7, 24x7, 8x5. What are you doing for them that's going to help them be a better business long-term? And if you don't know what your client does, get in there and do a discovery session. Like, hey, I'm not going to sell anything. I just want to come in and learn about your company. Can somebody teach me what your company does so that I can have a better idea of how to serve you better? That is a gap analysis. And that's the first gap I will identify for all of you. You don't know your clients well enough. You should know them well enough to walk into the table, make recommendations. They're going to make them richer. That's going to make them sell more. And that is going to turn you into a high value client or a vendor that will be invited to the tables that they cannot live without. That's all I have to say about that.
I can't say much at all, so I've been typing.
Skip's awfully quiet over there. He's wearing out, guys.
No, so check out the chat for all of Skip's comments.
And also my phone started blowing up. I don't know. It's the last day of school, so all the kids are really excited to get out. So I'm like looking at them like, leave me alone. So I need a service gap analysis for my kids now that it's summertime. Like, you know, how do I keep everything entertained with them? That's okay. I got them all jobs. That's my solution as dad. I grew up in a farming community, so there was no gap in the summer. Summer was busy time of year. So with that, if you need to know how to do service gaps, if you're still confused about the idea between service gaps and architecture gaps, give us a call. Set up some time. Not next week because I'm out of country. Next week, you're going to deal with Skip. Skip is going to run you through, man, I have too many tabs open. QBR integration. So how to take your service audit, your architecture audit, and put it into a QBR that you can deliver this month to show that gap. Like, hey, by the way, people, you need to be doing this. This is why you're having these problems, because you don't have this level of support, because there's no one to help you here. Or, you know, you don't have cybersecurity insurance and then you're high risk for being hacked. This is going to help you mitigate that. There are a multitude of services you can offer. And if you're not doing it and you're not pitching it right, your customer's not going to buy in on it, but we can help you there. So if you're still confused, reach out to us. So to answer the 3 questions here, how to audit customer gaps, use the service gap. Do not use the architecture to do service gaps. How to align with the customer's gaps, you got to learn their business. Learn the business and how they make money. And then finally, I think Skip has his 2 Qs he can teach you. And finally, how to deliver quality solutions that your client wants. Your solutions in your service stack need to align with the business gaps. Gap analysis, service analysis equals lots of money for your back pocket that the customer is happy to pay because you're solving problems for them and making them more money. Anyways, check out the webinar for everyone. It was fantastic. It should be finished up on YouTube right now. And then next week, you'll be stuck with Skip. Register for the webinar in June. And if you need anything, reach out to Skip and we'll talk to you next week or in 2 weeks in my case.